Right, now today we'll look at HTML frameset tag. Right, now HTML frames are used to divide your browser window into multiple sections where each section can load a separate HTML document. Now you might have visited certain sites on the internet and you realize that, like you see here, this is a site where there are different frames which have been given particular information on them, and if you are to open any other content, you realize that each particular site there is a frame that is attached or given. Okay, all this space that you are seeing here is a frame that was created so that information can be loaded onto it. Right, so now we are saying a collection of frames in the browser window is known as a frame set. Okay, now let's jump in and see how you can create frames. So we use frameset tag instead of the body tag. Right, now you notice that the normal trend is that when you are writing an HTML mode, we use the body tag to write any content that we wish to insert. But in this particular set, if you wish to insert a frame on your site, it's important that you replace the body tag with the frame set. Okay, so the frame set defines how to divide the window into frames. Okay, then I should mention that there are two common attributes that are normally used, and that's the rows and the column attribute. Okay, so the rows attribute defines the horizontal frame, whilst the column attribute defines the vertical frames. Now there's the correct way that one should able to write the frame set tag, and that's it. Angle bracket, then frame set, then you can choose either rows or column. In this case I've just written calls for column. Then it's important that you also indicate the size of the frame that you wish to indicate, or the pixels. Now it's also important that as you add your pixels, you should equate it to 100%. Okay, let's say if you are writing a frame, if you have two HTML documents that you wish to indicate, you can give the other one either 50 or 70 or 30. Ideally, what is supposed to be there is at the end of the your percentage should be equivalent to 100%. Now you will notice that there's an asterisk that is showing here. Now this comes up when, let's say you have maybe 3 HTML documents that you wish to allocate your site, and maybe you give the other one 20%, the other one let's say 30%, then the other 50, if you don't wish to write the 50, you can just add the asterisk. The browser will do the multiplication to equate to 100%. So in a case whereby you wish to not write the other remaining HTML document giving its only size, you just add an asterisk and the browser will do that for you. Alright, so now let's see how you can actually create frame and see what we are talking about here. So I've just popped up my editor. I'm using a Visual Studio Code, and on my right I've got a browser that whatever I write from the editor, I'll be able to see it on the browser. Alright, so my title for this particular lesson is a frame set. So let's go ahead and write the frame set tag. Okay, so you notice this time around you're not writing the body tag, but you're using the frame set tag. Right, so let's see how we can actually add frames to a particular document. So I'm giving my frames a 50-50 space, okay, or size. Okay, then let me also insert some frame. Okay, let me also add another frame which is for another 50. Okay, so if I was to save this information, okay, and test it on my browser, let me just make it big. You notice that it is shared in two sections. If you want, you can actually navigate around and change the size or whichever way that you wish to do. Okay, but what's the most important, that you are giving it its own percentage and see how it can able to do that. Right, now let's assume you wish to have another frame set. Okay, we shall have another frame to it. Okay, then we say maybe here you give it like I said earlier on, you give it 20%. Okay, then the other one you give it, let's say 40%. Okay, and here if you don't want to include the other percentage, you can just insert an asterisk. Okay, meaning that the browser is going to actually add this for you. And if you were to save this and test it on the browser, okay, let me just refresh this, you realize that we have a 20, I've got a 40, and another 50 given to it. So browser automatically is going to allocate space or the frame size for that particular aspect. Similarly, you can also use the rows. Okay, if you want to use rows, you can choose rows. It's the same. You can save this and see how it populates on the browser. You see, so whichever way, depending on which style you want to wish, either the column or the row, it can still work. Right now, let's look at the other aspect to see for today's lesson what we can look at. Okay, so the other thing is we look at frame attributes. Okay, so for today's lesson we are going to look at 3 attributes, and that's the sync attribute, the margin width attribute, and the margin height attribute. Now, the sync attribute, this is a common attribute used to give the file name that should be loaded in the frame. Okay, so what are we talking about here? So what you notice is let me just minimize this. Okay, on my my window here, I have these HTML documents. Okay, so for me to actually to showcase them on my browser, I should use the sync, which is going to locate its source. Now I have them on my window here, but let's see actually how you can able to get these 2 HTML documents into my HTML file. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this can work. Okay, so on my right again I have my browser, on my left I have my editor. Alright, and be in mind that you can also choose, if you want, you can use Sublime Text, or you can use Visual Studio Code to do this. Okay, so I'm choosing the column row, and since there are 2, if you notice here, I'm saying let me just show with the 2 HTML. I've got list 2 HTML. There's another document in list 1 document. So these are the 2 which I wish to showcase here. Now in them, let me just open this. Now in each document there's information about something. Okay, also here in each document there's something that is written in there. So for me to show these documents on my browser, this is how I can actually show it using the editor. Okay, so let me just go ahead and show you how you can actually do that. Okay, so the first thing is there are 2 HTML documents that I want to do, and let me share them 50-50 and see how they'll show. Okay, so this is 50-50. all right, then now I can show the frame. Okay, then I'll use the sync attribute. Okay, now the sync attribute, this is how you write it: the frame, then the sync, then equal to, then where do you want the information to be picked. Okay, so you have to write the way the information is listed. Now if you notice already, Visual Studio Code has given me some of these sites that I can pick, and if you notice here, this is there's list 2 HTML and list 1 HTML. Okay, so if I was to go ahead now and pick, I would say, okay, me, I want the one for list 1. Okay, there's this one here. Okay, again I have another one. Okay, so I'm getting the other one for list 2. Okay, so now if I was to save this, let me just remove this one. Okay, so this is should be a closing tag for. Okay, so now if I was to save this and see how it can show on the browser, I expect to see 2 information. So you see, so on this one we have got independent HTML document, the list inside, and the other one, that information that we did discuss. Okay, equally, if you wish to add the third one, there is one file here. Let me try to get this one, HTML file. Now this particular HTML document, it's in a folder. Okay, so when you're going to write the sync attribute, we will first of all write the name of the folder. Then that's when you are going to write the name of the HTML document, which is frame1.html document. Okay, so let's try to see how we can do that. Remember, I said here for you to access this, because this is already HTML document, no, but this one is different, it's in a folder. So for me to access the HTML document, I have to write the name of the HTML file, then yet I also direct where the browser to check, which is the frame1 HTML. So let's jump in and see how we can actually show that. Okay, so I'm adding another frame here. Okay, then source. Okay, now in this case I'm writing HTML. Let me check. Okay, it's this one. Okay, and you notice that it's made I push in HTML files, or then the browser links me to say this is the information I would want. Frame 1, that's the one that is contained inside the HTML file. Okay, and when I close this, just remove this one. And when I save and try to reload, there's something I forgot to write the size, to give you the size. So it's important that I also give you the size, since there are 3 frames. Okay, so let me say the other one to be 30%. Okay, 30%. The other one to be, let's say 40%. Okay, then let me use the asterisk. Let it divide on its own. Let's use the asterisk so that you see how it actually pick that. Okay, so if we save now and go on our browser and reload this page, you will now notice that there are now 3 particular HTML documents. Okay, the one for the list, the one for the document, and the one for the showing the picture there. So basically that's how you can use the sync attribute. Okay, you can write the frame, then the sync attribute, which comes with an equal sign with the string. Now here in the string you write the HTML document where it's located, the link where it is located. If it's in a folder, in this case you write HTML file or whichever folder that's associated in, then you add the forward slash. Then once you add the forward slash, that's when you can include now your HTML document. Right, now let's see the other attribute that we can use on today's lesson. Okay, I've just opened the wrong one. Okay, right, so let's just see how we can actually use the other one. So we are saying margin width. This attribute allows you to specify the width of the frame's content. The value is given in pixels. For example, margin width. Now, what are we trying to say here? What is there is on the browser here, the way the information will showcase. For example, for this list, if I was to set a margin for this particular list, the way it's the list will be the distance from this particular end to here. It will be pushed inside. Okay, that is the width. It will be adjusted from the width sides. Okay, so let me try to insert and see actually what can happen. Okay, so let me get the one for the list. So how do you write the margin? So this is the HTML document for the list. Okay, so immediately after the quotation, or after just writing its link, you write to say width. Okay, or margin, sorry, write margin width. Okay, then equals now the size. Okay, let me say 60, for example. So margin width equals to 60. That is your way you want to show if you want to push it inside. Then if you are to save this information and if you are to test it on the browser, Okay, you notice now that the table list is now pushed inside. Okay, now similarly, the other attribute for today is the margin height. Now for the margin height, we are saying this allows you to specify the height of the space between the top and the bottom of the frame's borders and its contents. The value is given in pixels. For example, margin height in this case is 10. So what are we saying? So ideally here what we are saying is, for example, if you look at this particular HTML document for hunting and wild animals, if you choose to insert the margin height, it means it's going to be pushed down here. The size is from the top to down. So here, this is where the distance will actually be changed. The distance between the main frame and where the words are starting from. So let's see how that can be done. Okay, so this happens to be the link for the hunting and wild animals. So similarly, I'll do the same. Soon after the link, I'll write margin. This time around, I write margin height equals, then I'll say, let me use 70, see how it will populate. Okay, and save this. Okay, so if now I try it on the browser, you notice that now the particular height now has changed. So ideally, basically, this is what actually we can able to do and navigate around using the seek attribute. If you want to add your link where your HTML document is, then if you wish to insert your width, you can use the margin width attribute to change it, to push it inside. Then finally, if you wish to adjust your heading, then you can use the margin height. Thank you very much for listening.